Hi, hello everybody, and welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows episode by episode, week by week, for our enjoyment and yours, exclusive to Disney Plus. That's kind of the intro. We got there mostly, but who cares? I'm your host, Griffin Tennell, Griffy D-Pad, and with me as always, the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing?
Right, Sons Griffin. It's a great day to talk Star Wars.
I am so excited to talk about this week's episode. As well as the last 2 weeks.
Last 3 weeks.
Okay, so here's the thing, folks. Thanks for bearing with us. I took a vacation. It was nice. But man, the timing for recording things could not have been worse.
It's fine. It's not like we had a large Pixar movie release come out at the same time.
Which you can listen to that episode right now. Over on youtube.com/@DPlusUs. Podcast services all around the globe. We've got plenty of stuff up right now, and that's kind of the big housekeeping point. But yeah, we took a little bit of a break because I was gone, so thanks to you for dealing with us on that. There's many adventures in Disney World that I'm sure we'll talk about on an episode at some point, and that Mitch is not at all jealous of.
Not that I was looking to price out a Disneyland trip literally minutes before we started this podcast.
I will make bad
told,
financial.
no, we have to wait until after we have a baby.
I will happily make bad financial decisions when it comes to Disney. So, hey, if you make that trip, let me know.
Will too.
Yeah, we're talking about the Acolyte today. Episodes 3, 4, and 5. So that's going to be Destiny, Day, and Night. Yeah, I feel
like we can kind of talk about Destiny in a bubble, and then Day and Night kind of felt like, I mean, the way that the series has been written, they were two sides of the same coin, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can see that literally in the titles, Day and Night.
Well, yeah, we had the premiere Lost and Found, Revenge, Justice.
Which makes me wonder a lot about Destiny, which is kind of where we can kick all this off. Oh, also remember, full spoilers for everything we talk about. With Destiny being that entire flashback episode.
So my understanding there is that the writers that wrote Destiny also wrote episode 7. So my tinfoil hat theory is that episode 7 will also be a flashback. And I have theories about that we'll talk about as we go through a bit of Destiny.
See, I would agree. I think it's going to be the flashback from the opposite side there. I think it's going to be May. Yeah. Which has always been one of those interesting things here of like seeing this. I love whenever Star Wars gets weird with the Force. I mean, like
the thread.
Like one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars canon to this day is still the Night Sisters. So to get more weird Star Wars witches, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this. I love this.
I mean, given the ancestry of the Night Sisters, it almost felt like this could be an extension of that culture or something predating that culture in the Old Republic times.
Mm-hmm. So doing a little bit of looking into it, it looks like they're similar but unrelated. There was some like conversations between, oh god, why can I never remember her name when it's important? Between
Osha and May?
No, Real World. Bring it back to the real world. Between Leslie Headland and Dave Filoni, of like how Dave Filoni used the Night Sisters and stuff, and how he used weird witchy stuff. Trust me, there's plenty of conversations between Osha and May we can talk about as well.
And we will.
But like how to use that stuff. And I like that these twins of like these extremely powerful kids, like their mothers, this whole society here, bringing up the question of, okay, how exactly were these children born? Something I would hope that we get to see further down the line. Well, maybe not in detail, but like explain the why there, because that seems to be important.
We're not going to see people fucking, but the impression that I got is that these twins were born of the Force.
Oh, yeah.
The thread, as they refer to it.
Yeah, their mother pulled the thread. God, that sounded... I didn't even mean for that to sound dirty, and it just so did.
Anakin 2.0, baby. Let's go.
Technically before him.
Anakin 0.5. Let's go.
But with more intention, I think is kind of the big,
presumably
interesting part there. Like, I do like these witches, especially their moms. Also, just shout out to lesbian Star Wars space witches. And
Yeah, because the internet didn't hate that when this dropped.
the internet hates everything about this show. We might as well just say fuck them, because we do.
Yeah, fuck the haters. This has been an interesting take on Star Wars. There are definitely some departures from where I've expected Star Wars stories to go, but ultimately it's been a good ride thus far.
I've kind of liked that. I like this show uses canon really well, but also when canon gets dumb, they throw it out the window. And that's a lot of I'll see a lot of critiques on this show of but the canon. I got news for y'all, folks. The canon exists to make the stories better. The minute it makes things worse is the minute you stop caring about canon. But who am I to say anything? I'm just an idiot that reviews shit on the internet.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just weird Star Wars shit, and we're all about it.
Yeah, this first, Destiny, there's obviously a lot here, but I feel like there's not actually a ton to talk about in the grand scope of these 3 episodes. I think it was just really cool seeing the background of everything and seeing where they came from and how that's going to affect things leading into episodes 4 and 5 and hopefully another flashback episode in 7.
Yeah. There's actually a really interesting line in Night, the latest episode, which was just kind of a one-off line, blink and you miss it moment of May saying, oh, they've brainwashed you. So I'm wondering that since we saw that flashback from Osha's perspective, what about that day or that experience was tampered with by the Jedi? So I do think there's going to be some level of that. They're not good. The Jedi are not good here. The Jedi have not been good pretty much throughout all of Star Wars. They're kind of shitty people. And I wonder if when we do get that other flashback from May's perspective, it is what actually happened.
Yeah, one of the interesting things in Destiny, and I would wager that this was intentional, is how much of when you get to the actual events, right? Of May grabbing the book, burning it, the fire spreading, everything falling apart, everyone's just suddenly dead, right? We don't actually see any of it happen.
The only thing that we see is May starting the fire.
Mm-hmm. And immediately after that, it's just door, which I think is such a great, creative decision that I hope pays off and we actually see what happened on the other side of that door. And that kind of seems to be one of those things they're really playing with in this show of hey, you think you know everything, but you don't.
There was a couple fairly predictable things. We'll get to it in Night, but I called that from a mile away.
Oh, of course it was.
Paid off exactly the way I expected it to.
Of course it was Manny.
Of course it was Manny.
Of course, his original character name I refuse to remember. So
Manny Jacinto.
Manny Jacinto being absolutely badass. Yeah, everything here, I really do want to see more of it, but I also kind of want to just skip ahead now and talk about episodes 4 and 5 because they're so good.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because there's so much happens here. But I want to start off with probably the dumbest little thing in all of these is, guess what, Mitch? We've got another weird little guy in Star Wars.
I really wish Nick was here for this.
I love Basil so much.
There's the Basil bit, but there's also, in the credits of episode 4, somehow Ki-Adi-Mundi is alive 50 years before he was born.
Well, I mean, doesn't his species live a fucking while?
I mean, according to the canon, he wouldn't be born for another 50 years.
Again, if the
I don't give a shit. But the internet was what the fuck? Why is this Ki-Adi-Mundi?
Once again, internet,
and Nick
say
loves
it with
Ki-Adi-Mundi, so I just want to hear those tears come from him.
If the canon is dumb and it makes sense to change it, you change it. That's how it's always worked. That's how we work. Especially when we talk about prequel stuff.
Yeah.
We've got how many years now of dabbling in prequel bullshit that has retconned things into the Star Wars universe?
And Filoni we trust.
How are we not just used to this? Yeah, it was actually, I loved seeing him in this. I think it really sets the tone for who this the Sith is and the repercussions of him no, this dude really did kill everybody that knew about him. Or this was such an embarrassing mistake that they wiped it from any records and any memory. I after the events of Night, it seems like it's leaning towards the former. But I'm interested to see how this plays off with the rest of the Jedi Order in this time. Like, it's been so weird. It's been weird, but also interesting watching this version of the Jedi Order through things.
Yeah, I mean, knowing this is the end of the High Republic era, I'm very curious to see how much of that story is told in this season and how much of it is built into future works in this era. I don't want this to be a one-off. I'd love to see more of this time explored, although, as we talk about the next couple of episodes, there's not many people left to explore it with.
I mean, you can explore before this, like actual High Republic, but...
No, I know. There's something about Star Wars, and it's so difficult to establish new original characters that make you care about their stories. You look at what Filoni did with Ahsoka, or even Rogue One with the character of Cassian Andor, and I think those are, the exception and not the expectation when it comes to Star Wars. With looking at the original trilogy and looking at the prequels, they spent all of this time establishing these characters or building in characters that had established ties within the Skywalker saga. As we move past that, it's going to be really hard, or it has been really hard for them to establish original characters that make people care. And outside of the Star Wars nerds like you and I, with like the Bad Batch or what's her name in Ming-Na Wen's character?
Shoot.
Fennec?
Yeah, Fennec.
Got it. Like, there are characters there that we enjoy, and I mean, the whole world fell in love with Grogu. But it just seems like the overall sentiment for a lot of these original characters in different timelines within the Star Wars mythos has been, so what? And I think without spoiling too much, as we get to talking about the later episodes, as we have fewer characters to follow at the end of this show or this season, what does that mean for what do Star Wars fans have to invest in within this High Republic era? And there's fewer and fewer characters as we go through this series.
It's going to have to be new characters. I think with this series being the end of the High Republic, this is not a let's jump into the High Republic and let's use this as an off point to tell more High Republic stories. That's not what this show is. Like this...
I mean, we said the same thing about Rogue One of like, we know where these characters are going because we know where episode 4 starts.
Well, like I said, we can go
a great story with Andor season 1 and with season 2 leading right into the events of Rogue One.
Like that's what I'm saying is we can go back in time. We could tell stories of like how Soul became part of the Jedi. Although we're probably frankly going to get that here. We can do that stuff, but like this is very much the end. And to this show's credit, there are characters I very much cared about in this show. Like I was genuinely like sad that when Jackie gets killed. Like I loved Jackie. Going into this, and I love Pip, who's the weird little droid, but it's always sad to watch a weird little droid die, but I feel like that should be really in heavy quotations.
I mean, he didn't die.
He did, yeah, it looked like he
Ocean sacrificed him, but
that's why I'm saying like
brought him back.
Heavy quotations, like he's clearly going to be brought back.
No. Like at the end, I'm trying to.
It looked like he was. No, it was Basil grabs him, but
Basil
it looked like
brings him back.
But wasn't he looked destroyed to me in that?
Did he?
Yeah, he looked real rough at least. But also, droids are fixable, so I mean, it's
exactly.
Yeah. That's why I'm using very heavy quotations around dead for Pip.
I think he'll be fine.
But like, I'm interested in May. I think Soul is becoming honestly one of my favorite Jedi throughout this.
Soul's really interesting. Lee Jung-jae brings a lot of gravitas to the role, which I really appreciate. It does very much remind me of Qui-Gon Jinn, which we didn't get nearly enough of him in the prequels, so I'm very happy to have a character of similar ilk. And getting more time with a character like that than we got in one movie where Darth Maul did Darth Maul things. Mm-hmm. So, no, I'm loving Soul.
I would even go a step further. Manny, who I finally brought up his character name, Kamir. So we're going to stick with Manny.
I was going to say, I don't think that's going to be his final. Like, that's the name that he uses as, like, the Apothecary. I don't think that's his actual name or title. I think we'll get something new to call him by the end of this.
Oh, absolutely. But Manny is quickly becoming like a top tier Star Wars villain for me. I think you have your classic ones, like obviously like Darth Vader is one of the greatest villains in all of films ever.
Kylo Ren, they're trying to make into that next generation of it.
But if I'm being honest, my favorite villain to this day in all of Star Wars is still Darth Maul. And that is largely because of Dave Filoni and whatnot. Like, there is just an unsettling, terrifying nature to Darth Maul. And it's something that Manny's character really emanates in this one.
Yeah, it feels very much like his character, Kamir, like the way that the Force works is the more Force users there are, the more distributed that, strength is amongst all of the Force wielders. So presumably he is one of very few dark side wielders at this point in the story, because the Sith have been all but eradicated. We get Ki-Adi-Mundi in the prequels saying, Sith, that's impossible. There haven't been Sith for thousands of years, even though he's in this show, and there's clearly a Sith here, but we'll see if he's a Sith by the end of it. I don't know.
I think he's just
that being said, within the mythos of the Force, the fewer users there are, the stronger that user is going to be. So, like, he is way OP, and it showed. Like, it took 7 or 8 Jedi to even, put up a fight, and most of them didn't by the end of it. And I know we're jumping around a bunch. We're probably not going to get into too many details, but yeah, it's just really interesting to see, like, we've never had a Star Wars villain quite like this, where at least to this point in the story, we don't have motive, and he's just doing bad shit.
We've had
just
that
for the sake of it.
I mean, we've had that before. Let me introduce you to the entire existence of Boba Fett.
That was different.
That is admittedly different.
Versus just, killing in cold blood.
Like, we have that
not
consistently.
Following the rules of engagement.
We've had that consistently in some films, but it's never main villains.
Exactly.
But what's interesting to me about him
is
that
they've all had an inner conflict. We don't have that yet here.
Well, what's interesting to me really about Kamir is that he cares about people in all of this. Like, the ending for Night, where he finds May and takes his cloak and puts it over her while she's passed out, and says something, I forget what the actual line was. Like, the dude clearly, his want was, I want to use my power the way I want it to, and I want to teach somebody who also thinks that way. That's all the dude wanted. Like, and
at this point, it doesn't feel like that's May with the betrayal. Maybe it's Osha.
Yeah, maybe it's Osha. This switch has the potential to be really interesting or really dumb. I based off of these first 5 episodes, I think it'll be interesting. I like what they've done with this show, but it could be real freaking stupid.
I will forego my prediction of that, just with how predictable the reveal of Kamir as the Sith was. I could see it being very predictable and wrapped up in a very neat bow by the end of the next episode. I'd love to be proven wrong, but to this point, the writing has been not safe per se. It has been very unique within the Star Wars mythos, but it has at times felt predictable, at least for me as the way that I'm consuming it.
No, I would agree with you. I think like the overarching story is fairly predictable. I think for me, where it goes into the
I didn't expect us to lose 2 of like the more prominent characters.
Yeah, I didn't expect us to basically be left with 4 total major characters.
Yeah, we have Soul and Kamir. It's 1v1 at this point.
Yeah,
with and then Osha doing their sibling thing.
Yeah, they're kind of just over here in the corner, but
you've
also
got
stuck
these
with
two.
it.
Yeah, these two threads, right? But yeah, seeing like I was shocked when Jekki and Yord were dropped. Like, especially Yord, that was so brutal. Where it's just like, oh, lightsabers aren't working here. Let me break your arm, followed by snapping your neck.
I mean, that was brutal, but also just there's only one instance in the entire episode where Kamir uses 2 blades. And the only time is to kill Jekki.
which is really
which
fun
is the
after
bang, bang,
Jackie
bang.
used 2 sabers to try to fight him, right? It's like, I don't need it. I don't need it. Yeah, I guess I need it.
I was looking through
Oh.
reviews for this, and IGN had equated it to Jason in Friday the 13th 2. And I'm like, no, yeah, that's exactly what this was. It was just
It feels like
bam.
a horror villain.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I want us to keep that vibe, like, with him. I'm interested to see what happens. Like, everything really can change with this next episode. I think this next episode could be really interesting, especially with who they have directing it. Hanelle Culpepper is going to be the director on the next episode. And she was the one who did the first 3 episodes of Star Trek Picard.
Okay. I mean, even looking at the director of this episode, so like looking at the episode of Night specifically, and knowing that the director also directed 2 episodes of the Daredevil series for Netflix, tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Garcia Lopez directed 2 episodes of season 3 of Daredevil. I haven't finished yet, but the first episode that I watched that he directed was very well done, very well choreographed, and you see a lot of that carry over here.
Mm-hmm. I also want to shout out really quick that Hanelle Culpepper directed the King Shark episode of The Flash. I'm learning this for the first time right now. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop looking into my weird Flash stuff.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, turns out she was the one who handled a lot of the Killer Frost stuff. That's interesting. I like the CW. What can I say? Yeah, I'm excited. I like this.
Of Supergirl.
That show was just as good, but had its own flaws. All of them did. They were CW shows.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw online a comparison, and I actually think this applies for, like, take it or leave it, where if Andor is HBO making a Star Wars show, The Acolyte is the CW making a Star Wars show. And it does feel at times that the writing can be more tongue-in-cheek, a little more lighthearted, a little less produced, or a little less lived in the lore of Star Wars and other productions that we've seen. Which you see that same sort of thing with things like the CW DC shows, where it's like, we're based on all of this comic history, this comic lore, but we're going to, kind of do our own thing with it and not necessarily stick to what is established as the patterns that make sense for that style of show. I don't think it hurts this show in any way, but knowing that you and I are both fans of varying degrees of those CW shows, us enjoying this tracks.
I would agree with that statement up until this last episode.
Yeah.
I feel like these first 4 episodes...
This is the red wedding of Star Wars.
Like, I feel like these first 4 episodes, they do have a tongue-in-cheekness to them. And I think that's because... And I think that shift here is really actually interesting to me, because it's like the Jedi did not know what they were dealing with until this episode. And now they do know what they're dealing with. So I wonder what the writing, what the feel is going to be like in these next 3 episodes. Obviously, we will not know until next week, which is super freaking exciting to me, because I like having this. Whether you think that this is the best thing ever or not, I am excited for the next episode. And
the fact that these things drop, they're like 35 minutes. We can consume it really quickly on a Tuesday night and talk about it almost immediately. Like we did tonight with you watching the last episode.
Literally watching it and then going into it. And also The Bear season 3 is now out. So
oh shit, was that a 9 o'clock drop too?
That was a 9 o'clock drop.
God damn. I know what I'm doing when we're done here.
It is 8 episodes.
I'm going to bed.
Oh wait, no, that's
I'm going to bed because I gotta be at work early in the morning.
It's 10 episodes. It's 10 episodes long.
I'm downloading it and binging it this week.
You ever just see a thumbnail of the thumbnail of this first episode is literally just Jeremy Allen White, and I already know that this is going to screw me up.
Of course it is.
I don't even need to watch it to know what's going to happen.
Also, a couple of shorter episodes, a couple of longer episodes. I'm excited to see what this season does.
Man, we got distracted by the bear. We will do a bear episode of the normal show eventually, folks. I got to finish my rewatch, though, first. So
fair enough.
But yeah, I like this show. I'm curious. At the very least, I'm interested to see where this show goes from here.
Yeah, I want to see the story through that they're telling. And as a Star Wars fan, I think that, you know, regardless of what the internet wants to say about the show, this is interesting. This is different, and it's something that I want to see through.
Yeah,
we'll see where they get to at the end of it.
Yeah, I also want to give one final shout out, quick, to Lauren and Leah Brady, who play the young versions of Osha and May, for just being absolutely killer actors. Like, these kids are great as far as child actors go. That's all.
Oh, I knew she was familiar. Okay, so Leah Brady plays the young girl in Violent Night. Have you seen Violent Night?
Unfortunately, I have seen Violent Night. I do not like
this movie.
It's so
good. Why are you saying unfortunately? It's such a good movie.
I did not like the movie.
David Harbour?
I love David Harbour. I did not like Violent Night.
Santa murder things? It was great.
It is so hard to get me invested in a Santa murder movie. You see this one The Rock's putting out?
It's a fun movie.
Apparently The Rock's putting one out
Krampus.
Now. See, Krampus I liked. Because Krampus, there's a mythology to Krampus.
There's a mythology to Saint Nick.
Yeah, none of it involves murder. Krampus does, though. Also, I love how we're talking about this at the end of June, about to be July.
Look, there's a place about an hour and a half north of here called Santa's Village, which is open year-round, so you can go visit Santa in July, and they got, like, attractions and stuff, and I haven't been since I was a kid, and it's probably run down, but...
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, one final thing I wanted to mention about these 3 episodes. Part of me understands, but God, I'm so disappointed that Kelnaka dies off screen. That was it was a cool reveal.
Yeah.
Of like, oh shit,
I want
they're
more
here.
Wookiees.
But...
I like more Wookiees in Star Wars.
Yeah,
and
give us more
less
Wookiees
Wookiee to be in the Star Wars.
I want a series that's just surrounding a Wookiee that is not Chewbacca. That is all I want. Star Wars, do the thing. I know you'll do.
I mean, they did. It was called Knights of the Old Republic.
Fair enough. With that, Mitch, we'll get back to this next week with the next episode. But if people want to keep up with us, where can people find us?
At D+us, wherever you want to keep up with us. YouTube is the best place. Followed after that by wherever I decide I feel like posting, which is very rare.
Yeah, remember how I keep saying I'm going to post TikTok, something I never do?
Remember when I keep saying I'm going to promote the show on Twitter and I don't?
Yeah, well, Twitter's a cesspool. That's fine.
That's also true.
I say it when all of our friends are there. But alas, you can check out this episode. Go ahead and check out our Inside Out 2 episode of the main show. We will see y'all next week. But until then, bright suns, and have a magical day.